Good afternoon and happy March and happy spring. It's great to see you all this month. And today, this month, actually, we're talking a lot about networking and building those relationships deep and wide. So I just want to talk about a couple of key points that we should be covering this month as you're going through this module. The first one is to have a networking goal sheet. The next is to think about conversation starters and a follow-up guide. And then the last one is a networking challenge. So let's just start with the first one, networking goals worksheet. Now, the purpose of this worksheet is to clearly define your networking goals so that you'll make meaningful connections and instead of just collecting contacts. What I mean by that is you might go to a networking event or a speed networking event where you get a number of cards. But the key is to really identify those connections that you met that day that could be meaningful. You could do business together. They need your services or vice versa, instead of just collecting contacts and, calling none of them or calling all of them, because that is very time consuming, right? Or maybe they know someone that needs your help. Like I just went to a networking event yesterday and I was talking about how I used to work in forensics, and the woman at the table said, my daughter's going through the forensic science program right now at this university. Would you be willing to talk to her? So I said, sure, absolutely. So it may be someone that they know. So stay tuned to those and make sure you follow up with them. So the key components when you're creating a networking goal sheet is identify who you want to connect with. Certain industries, certain industry leaders, potential members, or peers that are in similar roles. Sometimes you want to brainstorm with a peer, someone that's maybe doing really well, or someone that's like 2 steps or 3 steps ahead of you that you can learn from, and then find out how you can, give back to them just for their time, or just getting around that type of network. The other one is clarifying why these connections really matter. Is it for job transition? Is it for a learning opportunity? Is it for career growth? Is it for selling a certain product? Is it for advancing your program, creating your program, optimizing your program, or your services? So clarify why these connections really matter. First, identify them, then clarify them. And then the last part of your networking goal sheet is setting specific and measurable networking objectives. For example, you can connect with a lot of people on LinkedIn. And if you're not up to 500 connections, try and get up to 500 connections, because that's when the algorithms really start working on your behalf. So connect with, here could be one of your goals, connect with 5 professionals in my field on LinkedIn this month. You can connect with HR professionals, if you're giving leadership training. I mean, figure out who your industry is and who you'd like to connect with, and then set that goal. So I encourage you to create this worksheet before networking events, so that your outreach efforts while you're there are focused and intentional, because you want to make the most out of your time. Your time is very valuable, right? So make the most out of your time. Okay, the next thing I'd like to introduce is conversation starters and follow-up. The importance of first impressions, I cannot emphasize enough. So really decide how you would like to introduce yourself that will make a strong and lasting impact. So at events, say you're at an event, you could ask people, what brought you here today? Or what's a recent project that you're excited about? Or what's something that, that you've done in the last month that's been really helpful for your business? Think of what kind of conversation starter you'd like to use so that you're ready when you meet someone that you really want to talk to. And if you're online and you're trying to connect through LinkedIn or email, and you see someone that you admire and you admire their work and what they've done, Say, I admire your work on this specific topic. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic. And you could ask for an informational interview and make sure that you tell them how long. Can I have 20 minutes of your time? Can I have 15 minutes of your time? Usually that's reasonable because everyone's so busy. If you ask for an hour, then you may not get many responses. Now, if you meet with them and you say, can I have 20 minutes of your time? Sometimes they'll end up giving you more if they just happen to have more time. And it just depends on what's going on in their world, but be ready. I always say have 5 questions you absolutely want answers to, and then prioritize them, with the first one being something that you really want an answer to before you leave this phone call. Just in case you do have more time, just be ready to be able to fill that time. Now, some follow-up strategies after a networking event. You can email them, you can connect with them on LinkedIn, but just let them know where you met them, so that if they don't answer you right away, and sometimes they're out of the country or they don't have access, they'll come back to this email and they won't remember where they met you. So thanks for connecting with me. Your name. I enjoyed really talking to you about this specific topic, and I look forward to staying in touch. Or if you'd like to do a one-on-one with them, you can ask them for a one-on-one. So these, I would say try and connect with them within 24 to 48 hours of meeting them. Because if you wait too long, then, so much happens in one day. So much happens in 1 hour. Sometimes 2 hours later, you don't even remember what you did an hour, or it seems like a year ago that you did it, and it was just like an hour later. So make sure that you mention where you met them at, and then 24 to 48 hours follow up. It's really important to personalize your message. So one thing I recommend is not sending out a blanket message to everyone and BCCing them, blind copying them, and just sending out the same message. People don't like that. Some people might respond to you, but more than likely you'll get the connection from the personal touches, right? And another thing is, if you met someone and you have something interesting to share with them, or maybe something that would be helpful based on your conversation, share a relevant article, share a relevant insight, just to let them know that you do want to, bring value to this relationship. Okay. And so then the last thing is networking challenge. I challenge you to do a networking challenge this month because you're building relationships and you're optimizing your networking strategies. So think about how you want to apply the networking skills that you're building in real world scenarios. So there's a couple steps to success. Commit to 3 new connections. This could be at an event, through LinkedIn, or just introductions to other people. Practice active listening and engagement during the conversation. Become curious about what's going on with them. Listen actively. Majority of the people are trying to think about the next thing they want to say or how to answer the question, but listen actively and with curiosity so that you can follow up with a question that's relevant to what they're saying, and that they know you actually heard them and that you're listening, right? So that's a way to build that trust, really, and build that deeper relationship. And then reflect on your interactions. You might have a journal that you can just jot some notes down in after you meet with someone. I usually take a journal, or if you have one of those electronic journals that you can take with you, or even put notes in your phone in the notes section as you're talking to them, and maybe some follow-up or reflection on your interactions. What worked, what didn't work, and what are some of your key takeaways? And then think about this, okay? Your motivation to keep you, motivated, and accountability. So I highly encourage you to set reminders or work with accountability partners just to check in, to keep the momentum going. And then think about a reward that you might give yourself, like, a cup of coffee at Starbucks, or, going to take a drive to a nice area in the mountains, or go see the ocean, or get together with a friend for dinner, or clean your house or organize your bookshelf, whatever you think is a reward. So really think about the reward for completing that challenge. Because you need to celebrate as you take these baby steps. If you're just going and going and going and not taking the time to reflect and celebrate on what you've done, then I hear a lot of people say, I haven't done anything all year. But when they really sit back and reflect on the small things, they realize that they are actually building a momentum and doing things. So here's just a couple of tips. Again, work on your networking goal sheet. Think about your conversation starters and how you're going to follow up after these networking events. Create a networking challenge for yourself. And then think about what's going to keep you motivated, your accountability, and reflections on what's working, what you learned, and what you could do better next time. So thank you so much for tuning in. And if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat. I'll turn off the recording and we can go from there. But really appreciate you coming on today. And hopefully this month is really going to be helpful for you because everything happens through networking and connections. 95% of what you achieve is going to be through building those relationships, creating trust and safety, and making those connections. So whether you're in your own business, you have your own business, or you're in a career transition, or you're moving up in your career, or you're trying to find a new career, these things will help you with all of those categories. So I look forward to seeing you next month. And right now, if you have any questions, put them in the chat and I will answer them.